Australia is essentially the world's largest prison. You can't get in, you can't get out. Friends or family members die overseas. They actually can't leave the country to go to their own family's funeral. So if you're in Australia, good luck traveling. If you're out of Australia, good luck getting home.
Hello my friends and very welcome to my YouTube channel.
Today, we'll be talking to an Australian who has left his home country and cannot go back due to the major quarantine rules and restrictions, the double standards with celebrities and everything in between. Let's get started.
Hello Ryan. So what is current situation in Australia and price you need to pay getting back home?
It's almost impossible to get into. It's almost impossible to leave. As an Australian away from Australia, for me to get home, between 1,200 through to 1,700 euros just for a flight. And that's if I don't get bumped off. So there is a cap on the amount of Australians who are allowed to return to Australia per day. If I'm above that cap, I get bumped off the flight and hope to get the next one. And then let's just say I do get the flight. I then have to undergo 2 weeks of mandatory quarantine at a government dictated hotel. That's $3,000. $3,000 on top of it. And the food that they give you in that hotel is just dog crap. I've got my boy Mikey at the moment. He's just arrived in Australia from Canada. And I saw what he got for meals. Man, prisoners get better food than what they're getting. And we have to pay for it. You do not have the option to go home. You have to go via the private transport to the government issued accommodation. That's it. There is no acceptances for regular people. Australia is essentially the world's largest prison. You can't get in, you can't get out. The only exception there is if you're rich and famous. Last year, or the year before, there was a movie filmed in Australia by Tom Hanks. Do you think Tom Hanks quarantined? Probably not. Got many friends in Australia who's had friends or family members die overseas. They actually can't leave the country to go to their own family's funeral. I read there was an Australian guy in the United Kingdom, unfortunately was diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. He was going to die. And the Australian government, how amazing they are at actually looking after their own people, wouldn't let him come home. They left him to die on his own in the UK. I mean, at the end of the day, it has worked for Australia. We've all but completely eliminated COVID, but on the same sense, if the country has an outbreak of coronavirus cases, 7 cases a day, they lock down. Like, you cannot travel from border to border. Whilst Western Australia, our biggest state, whilst they go into a full lockdown, the MCG, Melbourne Cricket Ground, actually holds the world's largest live crowd since coronavirus started. An Australian football match where they had 85,000 people went to this match live to watch it in an enclosed area. So it doesn't really make sense to me, especially the next day when we have our Anzac Parade, which is the Australian New Zealand Army Corps. Very important day to Australians and New Zealanders. That got limited to less than 10%. So for the Anzac Day Parade, the Anzac Day March, it got limited to 8,000 people. But at the MCG for the football, 85,000 people in the same city. Yet Western Australia was still in lockdown. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And if you're in Australia and you want to leave, it's borderline impossible. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got friends that had relatives and close family friends die overseas. They can't leave the country to go to the funeral. Children can't go to their own parents' or grandparents' funerals overseas because the government says, no, it's too dangerous. And like, if you do want to leave Australia, the only way you can do it is to get a visa for another country. Once you've got that visa, you then have to get a job. So you'll need to get a letter of employment. So you're going to have to compete for a job overseas against locals who are in the country ready to start, and you might not be able to leave. Let's just say you get a job, amazing. You then have to get accommodation. And don't forget, you can't leave to go and do viewings or anything like that. You have to purely hope what you see online is correct and then get your letter of accommodation. So you've got your visa, you've got your letter of employment, you've got your letter of accommodation. Then you have to apply for a government's exemption to be able to leave the country. If you get accepted, awesome, you can leave. You go to the airport, you go through customs and border security, you then have to get your second exemption to be able to leave the country. So you need to get 5 things before they actually let you go. And you can get turned away at any point. So it's essentially the world's largest prison. You can't get in, can't get out.
So do you think that measures against coronavirus in Australia were effective so far, or they just had temporary effect and made more harm as a result?
Yeah, it's been effective. They've all but eliminated COVID. But at what costs? They've abandoned their fellow Australians overseas. When COVID first started, ScoMo came out and he said, if you're safe and secure overseas, don't come home. Didn't go home. 3-4 months or whatever it was later, we got locked out and told we can't get home. We've had enough time to get home. It's now our own responsibility. Let's say Australia completely eradicates COVID. Germany, France, they're still getting over 20,000 cases of COVID a day, which means Australia will not open up to Europe. Canada, America, South America, Africa, India, they're still getting like ginormous amounts of cases. So Australia will not open to the rest of the world while the rest of the world is in such bad state. So Australia is going to stay closed for so long. So if you're in Australia, good luck traveling. If you're out of Australia, good luck getting home. If you want to go to Egypt, you just have to arrive. They have canned the visas. Like, you don't have to get a visa anymore because they want tourists to come. So you save $25 upon arrival. It's not that much anyway. And then you have to do a COVID test when you get there. It's $20 American or 25 American dollars when you arrive. You get your results within 2 days. But guess what? You actually don't have to stay in your hotel for that 2 days. So you just fly and then you can start doing things. You can go to the pyramids, you can go to the king's tomb, you can go to the museums, you can go to all these amazing places. Egypt has a population of like 98.6 million. They have no cases to the amount of population they have. And anyone who says it's because it's not being reported properly, look at the facts. Their hospitals are not overcrowded. People are not dying in the streets. It is daily life. You don't have to wear a mask. Why are they not having this problem when India, and I feel terrible for what's happening there, why is Egypt doing what they're doing with next to no problems, while India is just having the bumhole teared out of them? Like, they're in a bad way. And then look at places like Mexico, Costa Rica, South America. They're almost business as per usual, and their hospitals are not overcrowded. Why is America so screwed up, and why are their nurses crying so much when other parts are so good? I just don't get it. It doesn't twig for me.
What do you think, guys? If you have any ideas regarding this question, please share in comments below, because I have no idea as well.
People are going to hate this video. It's so controversial.
So regarding everything that have been said previously, what would be the best travel destinations in 2021?
Go to Egypt. Egypt is amazing. And they actually just found a new archaeological site dated back to over 3,000 years old. You can see stuff that has never been seen before. Plus, they're open, it's cheap, it's like daily life, it feels normal. You can go to the bars, you can go to the shisha bars, you can go into shops, talk to friends, share a meal. It's just normal. Or just go to Mexico, it's chill. Mexico, Costa Rica, Rwanda, they're actually, I think, in like the top 8 places in the world for effective dealing of coronavirus system or the management there. So go somewhere like that, somewhere different, somewhere off the beaten track. Have some fun with it. And
please be careful. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please put like, dislike and comment below if you'd like to travel. And I'm gonna see you next week. Bye.
I mean, this conversation I'm having now is just for you and me. It's not for the interview.